ADHD. This is like having a Formula One engine in a bumper car world. Everyone else is idling through the daily checklist while your brain is firing off 12 ideas, 3 side quests, and one sudden urge to reorganize your entire room. Sure, staying focused on boring tasks feels impossible, but hand an ADHD brain something exciting, and it locks in like a cat on a laser pointer. And here's the secret power: that chaos fuels creativity. ADHD minds are world-class idea factories. While others follow the instructions, ADHD thinkers rewrite them, doodle solutions in the margins, and somehow invent something brilliant along the way. Hyperfocus is their hidden superpower. When passion hits, hours disappear and mastery begins. Their spontaneity makes them adaptable, their energy electrifies teams, and their ability to brainstorm from odd angles leads to solutions no rule follower would dream up. Life hacks? These folks practically invented them out of survival. So ADHD isn't a broken attention system. It's an attention spark, wild, powerful, and game-changing when steered well. Motion sickness prone. You're on a road trip. Everyone's singing, laughing, passing snacks, and you're staring out the window, pale as printer paper, regretting every bite of that breakfast burrito. Welcome to motion sickness, the ultimate betrayal of your inner ear. Here's what's really happening. Your eyes say, "We're sitting still," while your inner ear screams, "We're on a roller coaster." The brain, confused as ever, thinks something is messing with your senses, like a toxin, and triggers nausea as a safety reflex. That's why some scientists think motion sickness evolved as an early poison defense system. If your senses don't match, your body assumes you ate something sketchy and tries to purge it. In that light, motion-sick people are actually running the ultra-sensitive, premium security system. Their bodies notice sensory glitches long before anyone else does. And there's more. Because they know the struggle, motion-sensitive people become world-class planners. They pick the front seat, pack ginger chews, and can sense turbulence before the pilot announces it. Their hypersensitive vestibular system also gives them superb balance control when it's on their terms. Think yoga, dance, or tightrope focus levels. So sure, motion-sick folks might turn green first, but that's just because they're built with the deluxe safety package. Heavy sweater. Step into a hot day with a naturally high sweat rate body, and the world suddenly feels like an endurance challenge you're secretly built for. While others are overheating, slowing down, and peeling off clothes like a lizard shedding its skin, your cooling system has already shifted into high gear. Sweat is basically a liquid superpower. Humans evolved to outrun almost anything on Earth, not by speed, but by never cooking themselves alive. Heavy sweaters are the purest expression of that design. They dump heat fast, stay in the safe zone longer, and hold a steady core temperature when conditions turn to oven mode. That's why endurance athletes often sweat like fountains. The body is prioritizing survival-level cooling so performance doesn't crater. And there's a hidden bonus: rapid acclimation. High sweaters adjust to hot climates faster, handle prolonged effort better, and develop efficient heat response systems that keep muscles and brains functioning long after others hit the wall. Yes, hydration becomes essential, but with the right fluids, this trait turns blistering days into your competitive advantage. After all, high perspiration is engineered stamina in action. Small hands. I know what you're thinking, but hear me out. You've met people who can magically replace a microscopic screw in the back of a computer, fix a tangled necklace, or reach between the space underneath the driver's seat. Those are the precision engineers of the human species. Small hands come with a secret upgrade: incredible fine motor control. Less mass means less inertia, which means faster, smoother, more exact movements. It's like having the ultra-thin, premium stylus while everyone else is poking around with a giant foam finger. Tiny engine bays, delicate electronics, jewelry repairs, surgery. Small hand folks slip into spaces the rest of us treat like forbidden zones. They can navigate tight mechanical layouts with the same ease a ferret navigates an air vent. Swift, precise, unbothered. Sure, they don't get the same grip span on giant objects, but give them anything delicate, anything finicky, anything that demands steady micro-movements, and they're unstoppable. Fun fact: robotics labs study this exact kind of dexterity. Many cutting-edge robot hands mimic the constraints of smaller human hands because tiny, coordinated fingers are absurdly good at gripping and manipulating the world. Scrawny looking. You know that friend who looks scrawny even though they say they're working out all the time? All that time in the gym, and somehow it doesn't look like it's paying off. That's the low muscle mass body type. An ectomorphic superpower disguised as just being skinny. Here's the secret: less mass means less energy burned with every step. Slender builds are basically engineered for mileage, while heavier bodies spend extra fuel accelerating, decelerating, and just staying cool. Ectomorphic folks glide like efficient little gazelles. Their bodies don't overheat as quickly, their hearts don't strain as hard, and their running economy is off the charts. Long walks, distance races, repeated sprints. This is their home turf. And the health perks? Lower baseline stress on the cardiovascular system and less chronic wear on joints. Their engines run clean for decades. Even elite endurance athletes barely bulk up when lifting because their biology is so committed to efficiency over raw force. They won't be bulldozing through rugby scrums or rocking the rim in a dunk contest. But when a zombie apocalypse hits and you have to run for your life, the slender build will outrun all of us. Early graying. You're in your 20s, you catch a glimpse in the mirror, and a silver streak stares back like it's always been there. Before you panic, early gray isn't a glitch. It's your hair follicles running elite-level quality control. Here's the science in plain English. Making pigment is metabolically expensive. Melanocytes, the cells that color your hair, work like tiny furnaces, pumping out pigment while generating a ton of oxidative stress. When those cells notice things getting too risky, they do something surprisingly smart. They shut down pigment production entirely. It's a biological, better safe than sorry. Ditch the dye line, protect the DNA. By retiring these stress-prone cells early, your follicles may actually preserve structural integrity long-term. Think of it as your hair choosing durability mode over color mode. So yes, gray hair early might add a few years to your look, but biologically, it's the sign of a cautious, high-performance maintenance system. Your hair is risk managing like a pro. Poor sense of direction. There are usually two camps of people: those who remember directions on the first try and almost never use Google Maps, and those who still need their phone GPS to get home when walking the dog around the corner. There are also the ones who might get lost walking along the aisles of a grocery store. That's a poor sense of direction, and it's a real cognitive trait, not a personality quirk. But here's the twist. People who get lost easily often become champions of clear systems. Because they cannot rely on instinctive navigation, they build rock-solid workarounds, hyper-organized instructions, foolproof checklists, beautifully structured processes, and detailed GPS routes that look like they were drafted by NASA. Their survival strategy becomes everyone else's organizational upgrade. Teams rely on them because their systems don't assume magical spatial intuition. They're reproducible, transferable, and resilient. And there's another perk. Getting lost means exploring. A strong SOD person beelines from A to B. A poor SOD person accidentally discovers C, D, E, and a fantastic bakery no one knew existed. Serendipity thrives in wandering minds and wandering feet. Let's just hope you wrote down where the bakery is, so you know how to get back to it next time. You may never remember where you parked, but you might just design the navigation system that helps everyone else get home. Hairy. You know that friend who sheds enough to knit a small sweater and jokes about being part werewolf? Dense body hair is basically a built-in, full-body sensor suite. Each hair follicle is wired with nerve endings, which means dense body hair works like a giant tactile antenna array. A tiny change in airflow? You feel it. A mosquito landing? Detected instantly. Your body becomes a 360-degree motion detector, the kind that goes off even when a fly thinks about approaching. It's early warning tech Mother Nature installed long before Ring doorbells existed. And that's not all. Thick body hair gives real physical benefits. It shields skin from UV radiation, reduces friction in high movement areas, and helps retain heat when the temperature drops. Basically, insulation plus armor plus motion sensors equals biological multi-tool. Sure, in scorching heat, it can slow down sweat evaporation, but in cold climates or abrasive environments, it's the MVP. Imposter Syndrome. You walk into a meeting, everyone nods like you belong there, but your brain might think otherwise. What am I even doing here? That's imposter syndrome. Self-doubt wearing a fake mustache and whispering nonsense. But here's the twist. Behind that uncomfortable feeling is a set of hidden upgrades that quietly make imposter syndrome people absolute powerhouses. First, someone with imposter syndrome will prepare like it's the Olympics. They double-check facts, rehearse, research, and then add 3 backup plans for good measure. The result? Their work is often scary good. Teams rely on them because their thoroughness leaves nothing to chance. And socially, imposter syndrome creates empathy and humility. Instead of acting like the smartest person in the room, imposters listen. Really listen. They ask for input, credit their teammates, and avoid the overconfidence traps that sink arrogant leaders. Studies even show colleagues rate them as more effective because they're collaborative, attentive, and genuinely people-centric. Self-doubt also fuels growth. While others assume they're already competent enough, imposters keep learning, improving, upskilling. They evolve because they don't coast. So yes, imposter syndrome feels awful inside, but outside, It often produces results with excellence, empathy, and leadership without the ego. Blind or low vision. You walk into a room, and before anyone else even settles in, a blind person already knows who's there, where the doorway is, and that the heating unit in the corner is making a weird clicking noise for the last 30 minutes. That's the superpower hiding inside blindness or low vision. When one sense goes offline, the brain upgrades the others like a software patch you didn't know was available. Blind individuals often hear with unbelievable precision, picking up tiny shifts in sound, tracing footsteps, or tracking a moving object by nothing but its noise. Some even use echolocation, making soft clicks and reading the returning echoes like real-life human sonar. Turns out bats, dolphins, and blind rodents aren't the only ones who can use this impressive skill. And their memory? It's usually next level. Navigating without sight builds detailed mental maps, routes, textures, patterns, conversations. Many blind adults outperform sighted peers in verbal memory because their brains rely on listening like it's an Olympic sport. Meanwhile, their brains undergo neuroplasticity. That's just a fancy way of saying brain regions normally reserved for vision get repurposed for hearing, touch, and other senses. In a world built for eyes, blind individuals often become masters of the unseen. Joint hypermobility. You discover, usually as a kid, that your joints don't follow the same rules as everyone else's. Elbows bend a little too far. Fingers fold into shapes that make people gasp and say, "That can't be normal." That's joint hypermobility. Hypermobile bodies are built for range. Extra joint freedom means smoother arcs of motion, deeper angles, and a natural advantage anywhere flexibility matters. Dance, gymnastics, yoga, martial arts, even certain musical instruments. Your body moves more like a whip than a stick. Fluid, expressive, harder to restrict. And interestingly, that bendiness can act like biological shock absorption. When force hits the body, flexible joints and tissues can stretch instead of tearing. Some limited studies suggest this give might help hypermobile athletes experience fewer muscle or tendon sprains in certain situations. But this extra freedom comes at a cost. That same loose connective tissue that grants you range also means your joints are less stable and more likely to dislocate. So while others are limited by rigid hinges, hypermobile people move through the world with adjustable joints, designed for creativity, expression, and motion without boundaries, as long as they focus on giving their flexible body the solid foundation it needs. High-pitched voice. Most voices get swallowed in noise, drowned out by engines, crowds, airflow, or that one coworker who types like they're punishing the keyboard. But a naturally high-pitched voice cuts through all that chaos like a laser. It vibrates faster, sits higher in the sound spectrum, and slips into the exact frequency range that refuses to be muffled. Here's why that matters. High-frequency voices stay crisp in environments where lower tones disappear. Think busy airports, factory floors, emergency situations, or even a packed playground. Your voice is the one that actually arrives intact on the other side of the noise. Babies, especially, are wired to lock onto those higher pitches. They can pick out their name and sound levels that would make an adult say, "Sorry, what?" And older adults, whose hearing typically fades in the low ranges, often understand a high-pitched speaker more easily than someone booming in bass. In other words, you've got a built-in clarity advantage. Yes, people sometimes stereotype high pitch as less serious, but acoustically, it's a power tool, a broadcast beacon, a voice designed to stay heard when it matters most. If you liked this video and want to learn more about unique advantages of your disadvantages, check out this other video.